name is Zihe. I work closely with the Walrus engineering team. So today I'm going to show you how to get started on Walrus, the next generation decentralized storage system. And the agenda is just going to be me kind of peeling through the onion, going from the easiest way to interact with Walrus to more and more complicated things, all the way to an application built on Walrus, which is Walrus sites. So what is Walrus? Walrus is a decentralized BFT tolerant storage solution. It uses Sui as a orchestration layer. It has deep integration with Sui Move and Sui Object System, but that's not really required for you to use it. You can use it with HTTP API, with pretty much any programming language that you can come up with. So being a decentralized storage system, it can theoretically be also used as a data availability layer solution that supports certificate of availability or proof of inconsistency and things that you hear with the L2 EVM world. So as a developer, you mainly have two options to interact with Walrus. The first is through publisher, which uploads your file, and a aggregator, which reads the file that you uploaded. You can interact with them just with the HTTP interface or with the browser if you're just reading it. Currently on testnet, those services are pretty much free. They're basically a indirection layer that allows you to interact with Walrus without dealing with any kind of the key management or wallet, anything like that. You can just directly use it, and I'll show you how. So in a more production-ready environment, you're probably expected to pay a small fee to make use of these publisher and aggregators as services. And if you really want fast reads, they can also provide you some kind of CDN solution there. And the next solution, a way to use it is to use the Walrus CLI, which I'll cover afterwards. But I'll just demonstrate quickly how to use the Walrus HTTP way of doing things, right? So, so first thing is we basically set the actual aggregator environment variables here. So I'm just using my good old terminal here, setting the variable aggregator and publisher. So the way to use it, as you see here, I have an image here, right? I just call curl commands, and with this URL, I will be able to just upload a particular image there. So it has already been updated, already certified it says that. So there's this blob ID here that's important, and that's what we're going to be using to actually retrieve this particular image here. To retrieve it, it's also pretty easy. Curl aggregator. I'm going to replace this particular blob ID here. So this is just a URL, right? So any language can do this. So I'm downloading this particular file here, and can show you what it actually looks like if I can actually. Well, anyways, what? I think I'm having some trouble with just the overall way of doing multiple screens here. So,
can you just do LS?
Yeah, I can show you that, guys. That so. All right, so this one's here. So that's pretty recent. And then if you look at the HackerMan. Did I spell it wrong? Yeah. So this one is, 3 days ago, right? So now this is the way to just use it with regular old HTTP API. So I'm going back, show you guys how this thing works.
Can you do it like in URL or something?
Yes, you can do that as well. I can show you that if I can. Actually, this is just going to download it because it's seeing that as an octet stream. So, but you can play around with it more after this. Again, get this back. All right, cool. All right, cool. So, just did the demo. You can probably go find how to use it in detail with this URL here. You can also visit our booth. We can give you all the some of the cards, NFC cards, with all the resources there. So, obviously, there are some use cases when you want to dig deeper, when you have more interaction with the actual client there, with all your wallet and all the private keys related things. So this is where you kind of use the Walrus CLI. So it allows you to be able to directly talk to the storage nodes with a SUI address and some of the wall tokens there to pay and rent spaces on the decentralized storage network. So the process to set this up is a little bit more involved, but because it needs to be able to talk to the Walrus contract deployed on SUI. So we need to install SUI binary, the Walrus binary, and config there. These are pretty self-explanatory once you follow the instructions. So you can kind of do that afterwards and ask us questions if you have any questions when it comes to installing those things. So I'm going to just show you how to do pretty much the exact same thing, but on CLI here. So if I can do that. So for the CLI thing, so this is basically, what's happening here? Okay, so this is the CLI. I basically type an info there just to get some basic information regarding the Walrus network. Epoch here means the day you rent the space at. So right now it's basically 1 epoch equals to 1 day. So when you specify the amount of time you want to store a particular blob, you can kind of use that as a guidance there. So what we do here is to just do Walrus store. So here you have a bunch of those CLI options here. The most simple one is to do the same thing, storing the same thing, right? In a bit, it's going to give us some response there. Yep, so the blob ID, if you pay attention, it's the same ID as before, right? Ends with EMUQ here. Also ends with EMUQ. So it says already certified. And I'm going to now retrieve this. It's a pretty simple thing as well. So Walrus read. And then you can just copy this. Because it's deterministic. It calculates the file with erasure coding and then hashes it. Right. It knows it's the same file, so it doesn't. You don't have to upload it again. Right.
What if you upload the same file from different devices?
What if you upload the file from a different device? Yes, it's going to be the same. If the underlying binary encoding is the same, then it's the same. It's more complicated than that. It's erasure coding. So, any other questions?
By default, how many epochs does it set when you use the CLI? Because you can pass the option, but
yeah, you can pass the epoch option here. By default, it's one epoch.
by default, you're storing for 1 day.
Correct, but you can always set it to be more.
Can you set
I think if you put it to like 99,000, the system right now might break. But I don't think there's a realistic usage for that. Yes, you could if you have enough wall token to pay for that storage, right?
Do you prepay for that, or?
Yeah, you would prepay for that. You would prepay, but there's also the option to delete it, which basically frees up some of your pre-deposited token, right? I'm not gonna go through delete here, but it's a possible to manage. It's a way to manage your resources, not to preserve privacy, right? Because once you upload it, it's public. Everyone can see what it is, right?
So for the purpose of the hackathon,
So yeah, the question is, so for the purpose of the hackathon, should the epoch be set to 100 days? Yes, probably. 100 is a pretty good estimate.
And so what are like the maximum size of files, and what is the charge? Like, what do you charge?
Okay. Yeah, the maximum size of the file on testnet right now is 13 gigabyte per blob, and the cost there, I would say, for 100 epoch, you can false the token there, right? So it's paid by wall token. If you're storing one just image, we're talking about maybe like 0.01 wall, which is very cheap. So the target price for mainnet is 50 cents per gigabyte per year. Yes? No? Makes sense?
Yeah. Very cheap. Yes.
Okay. Are we good on time? I think we still have some time. All right, cool. 5 minutes. I can show you guys some other cool things here.
So you're not on mainnet yet?
We're not on mainnet yet. It's on testnet.
Yeah. What is the maximum we can use now for testnet storage?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
What is the allowance for testnet storage?
What's the allowance for testnet storage? You can upload anything you want, yes, as long as it fits within that 13 gigabyte per file / blob limit. Yeah, I mean, you can faucet those tokens on testnet, right? So there is a rate limit in terms of how much you can faucet. So that's your limiting factor there.
And it stores something somewhere. It's actually a working testnet.
Yes, it's a working testnet with different partners operating these actual storage nodes. Okay, cool. I'm going to show you guys quickly one more thing before we. So, Walrus CLI, just showing that. Pretty simple to use. Walrus store, Walrus read, right? Just go to docs.walrus.site. You'll find all the information there. There's also a JSON mode that allows you to interact with it more programmatically. So if you have like a programming language that can parse JSON pretty easily, then you can probably just use this and do this thing with more complicated things, right? You can delete object, just mentioned there, to reclaim space. How it works, I'm not going to go over this. This has been gone over in the video that I posted for ETHGlobal. So feel free to go there, and it has all the explanation on how exactly it works. All the things there. So Walrus sites. This is something that's more interesting there, right? So this is basically an application built on Walrus that basically allow you to store all of your website's content, static content, on Walrus and retrieve it back in almost as fast as you retrieve like a normal website. So this is stored through a portal, and what we mean by portal is that it's a service worker, usually on your browser, that retrieves those information from the Walrus aggregator. So there is also a way to do this thing with a server-based portal. It's basically have the same blob ID there. So every time you see docs.walrus.site, that's being served with the service worker. But if you go to docs.blob.store, that's basically being served with a server-based portal. So this is just kind of something I stole from the internet on explaining how this service worker works. But I'm not really an expert on front end, so if anyone knows how this service worker things works in browser, feel free to ask me. I'll pass it to the team there. So as I explained earlier, right? So there are two versions of the portal. Docs.wars.site. This one is served through basically using a service worker, and blobs.store is served on a server. So some project ideas that you can think of is, support availability for L2s, build kind of some kind of verification oracles if you want to go complicated there, right? And also storage of these archival for pretty much any blockchain, right? Walrus is a pretty generic, general purpose storage system. You can store anything there you want. Other use cases include some of the AI stuff that's pretty hot right now. Training data, data set, verified things that you wanted to store. Weights, vector databases, intricate detail there. Can all be stored on Walrus. The possibility, I think, is endless, and I'm really looking forward to seeing everything that you guys are building. So, thank you very much. There is a question. Yes. What is the main difference between IPFS and Walrus? So IPFS does not use erasure coding, right? So when IPFS nodes go down, you might not be able to retrieve your file. And also IPFS basically outsource some of the storage to third parties. It's like Filecoin that actually stores the thing, right? So Walrus basically has storage nodes natively in the network. They actually store your file. And if being BFT, if a third of the storage nodes go down, you will still be able to retrieve your file afterwards. Yes?
The sites are only statically generated content, right?
The Walrus site, so are the Walrus sites statically generated content? Yes, those are probably the best fit for that. But you can have some of the progressive web app things, like React things, hosted on Walrus sites as well. They will work. The only thing there that may not work are Next.js sites that uses some kind of server-side rendering. Those may be tricky, but if it's mostly static-based Next.js things, we do have a workaround. So come talk to us on the booth, and we can kind of help you out there. Yes?
So is there your recommendation for PWA settings? So PWA can be very different ways to approach. Do you have a recommendation for settings, like the offline support and?
I would think that for PWAs, progressive web apps, I think just a native, just pure React, that's probably has been tested. There is an example that is in the resources that we listed on ETHGlobal site. It's called example-walrus sites or something. Go find it there. As I said, the recommendation is to maybe not touch Next.js related things, but if you have to, come talk to us so we can help you out. Yeah. I would think so. Yeah, anything that's basically static that can be served directly from like a hosting solution that doesn't go through Vercel or server-side rendering. So I think anything that has server-side rendering that does some kind of servers and events may not be the best use case. Yes.
Possible to store something from the client side secretly? Is that API request or something?
Is it possible to store something from the client side? From the browser? Yes, if your browsers can make HTTP put requests, right? So you could. If you do it through the publisher, you're basically putting some trust into publisher, right? So as we talked before, publisher/aggregator, they're the outermost part of the Walrus onion, right? So they are a layer of abstraction. If you build a website that uses some kind of wallet there that kind of actually pays for these things, you will need to go deeper into how Walrus works when it interacts with the contract and things. So that's more complicated, and we don't really expect people to do that in like a 36-hour hackathon. Right? All right, so I think time is up, but if you have more questions, come to our booth. Really look forward to talking to y'all. Feel free to scan this thing to join the Walrus Discord. And yeah, thank you very much.